Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session on building and scaling a metadata management practice with Telus. My name is Manan Joshi, and I'm one of the customer success leaders out here at Collibra. And today I'm accompanied by three outstanding individuals here from Telus. Carine Botturi, she is the Director of Data Strategy and Enablement as part of Chief Technology Office at Telus. Tanja, Glisin, she is a strategy manager responsible for data governance, platform, and metadata repository at the CTO at Telus again. Yolande, Dykstra, she is a solution architect responsible for data governance, platform, and metadata repository. Next slide, please. For data to have value, it must be usable. And this is essentially one of the core problems that Collibra solves in the market today. We provide meaning to the enormous amount of data that organizations have today. Next slide, please. Every organization wants to become data-driven. We all understand that data is one of the most strategic assets that organizations have today. Even if we understand that there is enormous amount of value that the data carries, only 32% of organizations actually committed that they are realizing tangible and measurable value out of the data. Only 27% actually committed that their data and analytics projects are producing ample insights and recommendations. Only 1/3 of organizations trust the data that they have and trust the policies and the procedures that they have around the data. So there is a huge data value gap, and with more and more data coming into the umbrella, gap is getting wider and wider. Next slide. So how does Collibra help? And we call ourselves the enablers for the knowledge workers in the organization. And what do I mean by knowledge workers? Anyone who is consuming the data or whoever is producing the data. So essentially, it does mean anyone and everyone who is a part of the organization who touches the data, we enable that individual. What are some of the things where we could help? So we help knowledge workers find, understand, and trust the data. And some more clarification there. We help individuals find the right data and locate the data, and they could reside in any part of the organization. We give them we give them more context around the data, which helps. And then at the end, trust is really important, where the data quality is sufficient enough for them to really trust the data set. And once they find, understand, and trust, they can collaborate internally on that data so that they can get the action fashion that is required. Next slide, please. And this is just sort of a product architecture diagram here. In an essence, Collibra's organization to achieve data intelligence and unlock the value of their data. See how here is defined, accurate, and permissioned appropriately. There's a catalog level where business govern data. There is a privacy component with Collibra Privacy. Organizations can operationalize the privacy policies to ensure data is secure and to keep in compliance with the various regulations that are coming out in the market. Collibra data quality is something new that we have introduced, that organizations get predictive, continuous, and self-service data quality. They can centralize and automate data quality workflows to gain better control over end-to-end data pipelines. In addition to these products, Collibra offers comprehensive suite of resource experts to support you in your data intelligence journey, from initial onboarding to implementation through adoption and beyond. And that's where my team comes into picture. Our customers are at the center of everything that we do. Our goal is to make you successful and support you in every step of the journey. With that said, I'll pass on the baton to Carine. Carine, take it away. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Manan. So we are going to share what we've been doing for our metadata management at Telus. So next slide. Let's start by giving you an overview on who is Telus. So you may know our critters, but do you know that we are Canada's fastest national telecommunication company? So we are a team of 78,000 team members. We generate $15.5 billion in annual revenue, and we enable 16 million customer connections. We are recognized as a leader in culture and sustainability. And most important, we are committed to giving where we live. Since 2000, Telus has contributed to charitable organizations for $1.3 billion. Annually, our team members volunteer 1 million hours with local communities. And since the beginning of the pandemic, we've been able to commit $150 million to support COVID-19 response effort. So who is Telus? Next slide, I'm going to share with you our activities. So our activities are articulated around 5 pillars. The first one, communication, are our traditional telecommunication activities organized around wireline and wireless services, internet access, and television. Our second pillar, online security, is the division that provides to our customers identity protection, device security, and online privacy protection. Our third pillar, smart home security division, enables home security through management of security cameras, smart thermostat, smart sensors, and fluid sensors. Our health division, or pillar number 4, is in the process of transforming healthcare delivery across the cycle of care while creating value and better health outcomes. And then our agriculture division is on a mission to improve the quality and safety of our food by leveraging technology innovation and human completion. So with these 5 divisions, I let you imagine the level of complexity we have to deal with. We have to deal with multiple technology. Some are very old, some are very new. We have to deal with multiple systems, some supporting our communication activities, some supporting our agricultural activities. And I can let you imagine the number of data sources we have to deal with. So 2 years ago, we decided to embark on a journey to become a data-driven organization and to use the immense volume of data we were gathering through our system. So in that context, the ability to find, trust, and understand data is a critical success factor to our metadata management journey. I will now let Tanja speak about the practical challenges we aim to resolve with our metadata management program. Tanja, over to you.
Thank you, Carine. Thank you, Manan. You actually started intro on this, so thanks for really sharing with the audience complexity of the data management practice overall and what industry challenges we're facing. And thanks, Carine, for sharing how complex is our environment, right? But then, just to kind of tie back into knowledge workers that Manan already mentioned, this is all for that purpose, right? Like we've seen a lot of practical need everywhere, right? Industry wide and at Telus, and that's why we embarked on this journey, right? Everybody wants to be data driven. It is a good goal to have, but to be data driven, you really need to understand what data you have, how can you use it, where to find it, and when you finally find it, is it fit for your use, right? So what we really combine with our business driver to be data driven, we combine the answer to that you also must be metadata driven. That's where the knowledge that can answer some of these very practical and daily questions our knowledge workers have. And for that, we are on a journey with Collibra for a few years now, and so far so good. So I would go to the next slide now, just to share with you quickly. I'm not going to drain it, but what I've also seen in this conference yesterday, there's a lot of appreciation for practical advice. So I'll try to really reflect on that in this portion as well. So for us, honestly, like, it is true, top down is a must, right? But there's so much more than just obtaining executive level support, picking the right technology. Technology has to be a good fit for for your organization, what you really want to do with it, right? And not forgetting ever about people and processes, because if you have everything set and you're ready to go, if you don't have people and resources in the right roles, that is also going to slow you down, or in some cases really derail the whole initiative. So those are the key themes. They sound like probably something you've heard before, but it's true. What really happens when we scratch the surface of these universal truths, right, is how do you do it in your environment? That's the key. Like you really have to go and understand what's happening in this case, a Telus environment, and how do we move forward and keep going, right? Sustainability is a big topic as well, right? So our approach is, when you think about it, when we boil it down to patterns, simple, right? But there's a lot of complexity behind the scenes and a lot of hard work for that magic to happen. And we'll have a demo a little later on where you can see the magic, but that magic really happens with the hard work. So honestly, at the beginning, you really have to understand and ask your users and knowledge workers, do they really want to be data driven? Do they know what they mean when they say that, right? They want data at any time, and they want it now, right? So from our perspective, what that meant for us and how we really baked in a little bit of a vision is that we realized what they really want, right? They want their data experience to be improved. They don't want to wait for access for who knows how many weeks, right? Days. They don't want to analyze and check for data quality every time they check something, and building, for example, AI models that are just waiting for appropriate data to be used. So in the background, we really realized that what we can do with this platform, we can improve their data experience on a day-to-day basis. Everybody says that they want to be data driven, and that of course means some changes in how we do business every day, but not everyone's actually ready for a cultural change. So if you're embarking on this, or you already in it, like are you doing something partner with Collibra, count on it. Even when you think you've checked all the boxes for the culture change, you'll be surprised. So count on that and be ready, be prepared. Second big area where we paid a lot of attention from the beginning was really, organizing ourselves around the use cases. That was our focus. But really, in translation, what that meant, it really meant that we wanted our business and business units and our end users to be with us and on this journey, to be collaborative from the beginning, right? So we had a lot of early adopters. They were very patient for our first wave of technical integrations to happen, right? But basically, we learned from them, and they learned from us, and it's really very important to have that collaboration from the start. We've also got some very good insights from our partners in the business units, and realized we actually would be or always behind, and almost like losing advantage if we focused only on a very specific small use cases at the time. So we had to elevate that approach, and we're really dealing now with flavors or patterns of use cases. In our case, they mostly fall into these three big groups. So either we are enabling data operations knowledge workers, or we supporting and offering some nice capabilities to data analytics users. And then there's a third group of knowledge workers to manage data risk and accountability. So for that, for the variety of those types of use cases, we find Collibra really handles all of them very well. And on top of that, not just that it's handled it, but it's almost like all these use cases are key for the success of your program, because data operations, for example, use cases, they're the ones that bringing more metadata into repository. They're building it, they're enhancing it. Data analytics then can have richer and more improved data experience, as I mentioned before. And of course, risk and accountability use cases are enabled almost automatically. So basically, from this perspective, my suggestion here is, if you're doing it, don't build for small use cases, right? You almost have to build for your future use cases. Like you have to anticipate what is yet to come, things you don't know are going to be a problem or challenge. So again, I really can't say enough about Collibra being able to support that way of development that we chose, as they really operate on building blocks type of a platform. It's really supportive of what we need to do. And yeah, build a repository. That's kind of goes with the ecosystem of these use cases. We've made a lot of effort to always stay on a higher plane and always take that enterprise approach, of course rooted in these business needs and drivers, but always keeping an eye on, if I build this today, am I going to be able to seamlessly extend tomorrow for the use case I don't even know today? So that's really what, like I cannot stress enough, and it really worked for us, right? Yes, start small and iterate. So that's our approach. We kind of have a wave strategy. We started with a small number of technical integrations. Then it's followed by onboarding the responsible users, metadata content managers, and data stewards. And then we really monitor and support them. So that's almost like a complete wave of building the repository for us. So with that, I'll go into the next slide, and I think it's Yolande.
Yes, thank you, Tanja. So what we're going to do now is take a brief break from all the talking, and I'm going to show you our metadata repository powered by Collibra. So over the next few minutes, not going to spend too much time, but I'm going to show you how to search for content in Collibra, share some sample metadata that we're capturing, show the power of the traceability diagrams, and then talk briefly about the operating model, which is about how we organize our data. So let's start with search. There's two ways to search for content within our metadata repository. And the first is in the Collibra web app, which is what you're seeing here. And all you need to do is type what you're looking for in the search window, and you will be presented with everything it can find related to what you've searched. So I'm going to start with this term called this acronym called a CDR. I was in a meeting the other day. I know what CDR means in telecom, but this was not a telecom meeting, so I have no idea what they're talking about. So I can come to Collibra and I can type in CDR, press enter, and Collibra is going to present me with everything that it finds that starts with CDR. And there's a lot of results. But the nice thing about this search result pane is that in this tab is where I can start to refine it. I can refine it by tables or columns. So I know I'm looking for this acronym. And there's one acronym for CDR. I can click on that acronym. And it's going to show me that it's actually an acronym for two different business terms: call detail record, which I know because I work in the telecom side of Telus, but it's also an acronym for clinical data repository. So did not know that. So it's a great centralized location for this enterprise knowledge. And the nice thing about Collibra is you can start to click through. So I can click into clinical data repository and I can find out a little bit more detail about that. And then I can click back and see, well, what other terms are there related to healthcare that I might be interested in? And you can do this for anything you want to search for. So tables or columns or policies, anything like that. The other way to search for content, however, is a tool called Collibra for desktop. And I love this tool. What it allows you to do, so it's a locally installed application, and it allows you to search for content in our metadata repository right from your computer. You don't have to go to the web app. So let's have a little demo of that. So I am, writing this query in Toad, and I'm not really sure if this is the table that I need. So what I can do, instead of, getting out of Toad and going in and looking for something or asking my buddy, is this the right table? I can highlight the table name. I can invoke Collibra for desktop by clicking the little Collibra short key. And it's going to bring up a pop-up window that's going to give me all the results related to that term I've highlighted. And I'm interested in the table. You can tell if it's a table or a column by this little icon. I'm going to click on the table, and it's going to pull down high-level information about that table. So here I'm going to see the description. I see who the metadata content manager is and what the columns are and what their data types are. And it just doesn't stop here. If I want to start digging into some of these columns, I can actually click on these columns and it's going to bring me information about those columns. I can start to explore. Now, this only has some summary information. It doesn't have all the details. So if I wanted to dig deeper, I don't actually have to go and initiate this search again in the Collibra web version. I can simply go to More, open in the Collibra platform, and it's actually going to open that asset right to this page. Click on. There we go. So now I can get all the information. So I'm going to get more information about my tables and columns. I know the schema, and I can start to explore any other tables that might be in that schema. So this is going to work for, really any application. It actually works on Collibra itself. So if I'm also in a presentation, if someone's presenting and I see an acronym, I can also go in and search for that acronym. So now let's talk a little bit more about some of the metadata content we have. I'd say we have two flavors of metadata content. Tanja referred to the magic. There's no magic. One of the things that, one of the strengths of Collibra is to take metadata information, technical metadata from technical sources. So when we were looking at over here, when we were looking at all these tables and columns and we see the column position and the technical data type, we actually get that from our Oracle, our SQL Server, our Hive. That comes directly from those metadata sources, and we sync that on a regular basis. So that's one of the benefits, is you don't have to ask people to make sure that they've kept these things in sync. But then we have the other metadata, and that's what our metadata content managers and our stewards, or business and technical data stewards, they're adding knowledge to these data assets. So I just wanted to show you a few things that we're doing. As you know, personal information, that's a really hot topic right now, and we definitely have some policies on how we treat our data. So this here is just an example of some of the attributes that we're assigning to our columns so that we know, is this personal information? So does this column contain PI information or not? So we see an X or a yes. So we see this create user ID is definitely personal information. We know it has a security classification that it's used for internal. And we've actually assigned a classification to that. So that's just an example of some of the additional metadata that you can add, and then in the future you could act on it. So you could have policy managers coming in and assigning rules. So if something is defined as PI, then I can action on that. Another example is with our business glossary. So we have our Bill 101, we need to make sure that we have content in French and English. So as part of our business glossary, so I have a business term average revenue per unit, and it has my description, but we're also providing the French translation. So every business term must have a French translation, and this is how we're managing. We're managing 2 separate glossaries and recording those relationships so that if I'm in the French version, I can easily navigate to the English version and vice versa. The next thing I want to share with you are the traceability diagrams, and I find these just amazing to visualize how our assets are related and to explore any relationships. So let's start with exploring our data asset relationships. So I have this table and I have some metadata for it, but this is very textual. What you can do for any asset is you can click this diagram, and this is where it's called a traceability diagram, and it allows me to explore these relationships visually instead of having to try to just consume it in text. What I like about this is as you click through the various objects, the preview pane is giving me the information that it has on it. So this is the database, this is the schema, and the schema is telling me what tables are in it, and then this table is telling me what description, maybe we have a descriptive example, etc. But this is where now I can start to explore. When I click these 3 dots and go to explore, I now see that this data asset is governed by a policy. So I can bring that up and it's governed by Tech 112, and I might not know what that is. So it's included in a policy that is called the record retention policy. But then I can start to see, well, what other assets are also governed by that policy? So it just takes you on a journey of your data and how it's related. The other thing I wanted to show you was, so that's all about exploring a data asset when you don't know what you might want to discover. But this example is for Tableau lineage, and this one actually oh, great. Good thing I remember my password.
Yolande, quick time, 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, this is taking a little longer. Okay, so quickly, this is going to show you how all the assets go back and how the data sources feed the report attributes. So we're running out of time. So let me just, a few comments about the operating model. Tanja mentioned a complexity. The one greatest benefit about Collibra is that it will conform to your business. It doesn't prescribe an operating model, but make sure you take the time to make sure you take that enterprise approach. Okay, since we're almost done, I guess we'll just go into, I'll skip my last slide and we can go into some Q&A.
Don't see any questions yet.
No questions yet? Okay, well then I can talk briefly. If a question comes up, please interrupt me. The last thing I wanted to share was we talked about, the stuff that we've loaded. This is just telling you what we've loaded to date and where we're going. So right now we're building those magic connectors to Oracle, Hive, BigQuery, and SQL Server, but we have a whole bunch of data asset metadata sources in our future. We're working on our Tableau integration, but looking to future. And we also are going to be integrating with Collibra data quality.